I know over the last 30 years that we're encouraging our children to go and get educated and come back and work for us and come back and be part of our administration, and when land claims is ever settled, we'll have plenty of capital and resources to hire you. But what's happening now is we have a lot of people that are young people and old that are going for training, going for education, and they come home and there's nothing. We can't hire them because we don't have the financial resources to maintain and sustain these young people coming to work for us. I don't know how that's fixed.
With proposal-driven initiatives is that those First Nations already with the capacity to create that proposal are the ones that get the money, and those without the capacity never receive the money. So they're still left, they're even further behind, because those that have already moved ahead are further ahead.
Thank you. And what would work better?
Well, I don't think a per capita distribution works either, because then you get the money to develop these proposals and it never goes anywhere. I don't know what the answer is, but I think you got to really look at giving everybody the capacity. I mean, hire a consultant to develop the proposal first.
And do you think
if you don't have the capacity within your community already to do that,
right?
Option to access assistance.
Rebuilding, because this is a tremendously important fund for the bands. This is what's killing us right now, is not having the capacity to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that we've got in front of us. And we've got lots of them right now with referrals and consultations and so on that we need to really get into. But without the capacity, we're not doing that at this point.
But we still run a risk of running a lot of money into consultants.
Yeah.
But I can understand what's being put forward on capacity. I think it's not an easy answer to say yes or no to proposal driven, and I think people tend to go that route just because it's easier to manage and sometimes has maybe more basis for measurement.
Yeah.
So we'd have to hire somebody to write a proposal, but it would have to be a member of our tribe. So that's capacity building, you know, have money set aside for the small bands who don't have the capacity right now, and all the bigger bands, they have their own proposal writers anyway.
Under the open proposal process, you know, bands could throw a number of proposals out there, but who's going to fund that? I would suggest the ones that are successful be funded and reimbursed back to the band, because any First Nation could identify and throw tons of proposals to the trust. So.
Need to look at these resources and to be fair and to all nations, and I think maybe want to consider a core fund established so that all nations at least have an example of a couple $100,000 started, distributed to all nations, and then from there develop a plan to distribute by proposals or submissions from each of the nations, and some bands may need to get some support to write that. That should be an option.
Okay.
And then I think we need to focus too a bit on the distribution of the balance. I think a lot of times the remote northern coastal communities just don't seem to get our share. So I think the board structure is important. You know, if there's going to be proposal writing and decision making, I think we need to be represented.
And obviously our communities have been hard hit with our fishing resources and our fishing depletion and licenses and such. And you look at those short-term objectives when it comes down to government relationships with our First Nations. They were proposal-driven projects, and they weren't effective. Our community members are still at home. We never built the capacity off the money that was granted to our people, and if we don't get a long-term commitment, a lot of the times we'll get things just up and running, and then the money's gone. And then from there, what are you left with? You know, a bunch of ideas that actually don't get implemented. So That's one of the probably the biggest issues right now that we're facing, is if we don't have the commitment and idea of how many years it's going to take for us to move forward and build all the things that we want to see on paper, then what's the point? Sometimes it's what's the point?
I want to answer what is missing. What I would like to see in there is the ability to, like, say, we developed this paper on residential school, and right now the compensation package doesn't allow for language and culture. And I see language and culture in here, but it's just going to be the same old stuff. It's going to be very limited. So what we would like to do is develop our own, like say, a 15-year language plan, including all the people we need and all the equipment and all the resource staff, and how we're going to become fluent in our language in a given period of time. What I see missing out of this is I would like to see where you can leverage planning dollars, where we could take a chunk of our territory, because we got lots of timber in our territory, and if we could say we identify a certain area where there's timber volume, and our target is to create $15 million through the logging profits, and that would be what I would like to see in there, so that then we create our own trust, and we don't have to worry about writing to some board about money to fund our language and that, because to me it's, when you start doing that, it's like begging for money. So
so, you know, the government throws peanuts at us, and even the monkeys don't want it. So anyway, now they have 100 million now. That's nothing. So by the time you hire someone to develop this plan for us, you know, to hire a consultant, they pretty well going to use up all that money. So the 100 million is just another surplus of monies that they have now. They don't know what to do with it. What better place to offload it is on us First Nations people. If they're going to offer us money, it's best that they offer us more money than the 100 million, and rather than $250,000 a piece per band. It's not enough.
You know, if we want to get into government, that's the way they do business. And we look at this development plan, and what it means to us is big business. And that's the way we're going to approach it. As a nation right now, we're trying to separate business from politics. And that's one of the major issues that we have to deal with as First Nations. And the banks are very excited about looking at that process, about separating business from politics. When you do that, the doors are going to open. And we're doing that now. We're crossing the T's and dotting the I's on that. And like Cameron said, the reason why we wanted to make our submission here, we're basically ready, and we're just about at that final point of, like I said, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. We're prepared to share our information with anybody that wants to listen, whether it's government, federal or provincial, and the banking institutions. They're all ready and waiting for us. And with other First Nations, I know it's tough to kind of find the dollars to kind of put proposals in place that are comprehensive for our First Nations, especially with economic and social development. We've tried to address this in our plan, and we're prepared to share this with all First Nations. We're not afraid to, we all have